It's a pleasure to be called so early in this debate. I'll take your guidance on not speaking to the individual circumstances. My purpose of being here today is to give a voice to many of the veterans in Plymouth that have attended my surgeries and have stopped me in the street to raise their concerns about what is happening here. Because there is a real sense of betrayal amongst so many veterans for their time of what is going on with veterans in Northern Ireland. Not just, it must be said, for those people who actually served in Northern Ireland, but for those people who wore a uniform anywhere that feels that an attack on one has become an attack on all. And they have asked me to speak in this debate to pass on the very genuine and real concerns of those veterans. And in particular, I feel that the words that have been spoken by the Prime Minister and by government ministers to date have been hollow. They have not been meant. And the sense that when veterans are needed for electoral purposes, there's lots of warm words about supporting veterans, but actually when it comes to the time when many people who have served our country need support from their government, need guidance and that wraparound support from those people who sent them into conflict, into harm's way in the first place, that support and guidance is absent. So I'd be grateful if the Minister could set out in his responses to a number of the questions that I've been asked. The first one is about what new evidence means. So specifically, a number of the reasons why has been given around this area of going after veterans is because of new evidence. But the definition of what new evidence means is something that a lot of the veterans who have spoken to me struggle to understand, especially when new evidence from the past doesn't look that new or that evidential. What does it mean now? And that is a matter that doesn't prejudge any guilt or otherwise of any individuals, but just to understand the legal framework where any decisions may be taken. What support is the government, be it the Ministry of Defence or any other part of the government, providing to veterans to enable them to gain support? As was said by my friend for Stoke-on-Trent, a number of the veterans that have contacted me are actually very old. And actually, in any other circumstance, we would be providing support for them because of their vulnerability. But actually, their strength and stoicism in terms of this is something that can't be given as a granted because of the age of many of the veterans involved and the severity of what is taking place here. Now, I haven't met any one of those veterans who has said that anyone who breaks the law should not be prosecuted. And indeed, it is something that every single one of those veterans has reinforced to me time and time again, that the UK Armed Forces are the very best in the world because they uphold the law, because they are trained in terms of what is right and wrong, and because they understand what is a legal order and what is an illegal order. And actually, that sense of training and duty that has come with them is so very important. So I'd like to ask the Minister as well, why is the decisions on this not going up the chain of command? Because actually, one question that has been raised by veterans is those people that are being looked at now in the round are part of a command structure. So if we are to look at this, at what point does the command structure come into place, those senior officers and those politicians that may or may not have given orders or set an engagement framework in which anyone serving in Northern Ireland will have operated? Happy to.
Thank you, Mrs Moon. I intervene simply because actually the command structure doesn't really come into it. The decision is in the yellow card. You have to make your own decision as to open fire. It is not, you do not have time to turn around and ask for permission. And that decision can sometimes be made very quickly. So I take the Honourable Gentleman's point about the command structure being involved, but actually with regard to opening fire, that is a personal decision, and that person who makes that decision has to stand by it and justify it. That is why it's so important to train very hard on the yellow card.
Luke Pollard.
I thank the Honourable Member for his intervention. I know from his own service to the country and his experience in Northern Ireland that he'll know this better than many others in this place. It is a question that's been raised by veterans with me, in the fact that there is a sense sometimes that it's not everyone that's involved with the entire operation that are being pursued in this respect, and how are decisions made in terms of doing that. But I entirely agree with and understand the point the Honourable Member has raised. I think the sense that I have been asked to communicate, and I do so for the final time now, is a sense that there are many veterans who served Northern Ireland and who did not, who feel betrayed and let down by government. And they hope that whatever comes out of this situation and the debates that have been formed, we can happy giving way.
Yeah. Ruth Smith.
I thank my honourable friend for giving way. I think the matter on, I think this all comes down to the sense of fairness. A fairness both for the victims, for their families, and for everyone that lived through the Troubles in Northern Ireland and continues to live with the consequences of it, but also fairness for the veterans and for their families, so they know exactly where they stand and why. I mean, this comes back to whether we need more effort put in peace and reconciliation in Northern Ireland in terms of talking, but ensuring that there isn't prosecution at the same time. So on this issue, it is down to fairness for the families, for everybody.
I thank Mama Frank for that intervention, and I agree with her in the sense of fairness is an important part of a solution to how you deal with a sense of betrayal. Justice needs not only to be done, but to be seen to be done. And at the moment, there is pain in lots of different communities, and everyone in this House welcomes and values the progress that has been made in Northern Ireland with the Good Friday Agreement. I would like more members to read the Good Friday Agreement because I sense there's an awful lot of debate sometimes that takes place without actually the words of that agreement having been read. However, I think there is an important part here that actually I think there's an opportunity for the ministers, be that from the Northern Ireland Office or and especially from the Ministry of Defence, to really understand the concerns of those people that served in Northern Ireland, and equally those people who didn't, who just feel that there's something not right here. And I'd be grateful if the Minister could address the concerns, especially about the definition of new evidence when it comes to his concluding remarks. Thank you.
Bob Stewart.